Would you risk bankruptcy buying your new dream luxury car? Yeah, everybody knows that expensive parts can cost thousands of dollars. The shop rates are over 200 bucks an hour. And unfortunately, the reliability has been up in the air for many years. I'm going to share with you how I prevent going broke buying my luxury car so I can ride around in the car of my dreams. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
Haven't you ever thought one day you're going to own up and save all your hard-earned pennies and buy your luxury car? Mercedes-Benz, for example, here is one of those brand names that resonates, and a lot of people wonder, should I buy it? Can I even afford this? I heard so many bad things and so many scary horror stories about the cost of owning these cars. And there's a lot of options that we have as buyers to ensure that we can buy our favorite luxury car and not go broke doing it, not go bankrupt. A lot of these parts now can be sourced from great little spots like ECPP Bureau. Of course, there's all kinds of little aftermarket shops that you can get great OEM parts. As a matter of fact, even doing some of your oil services, a lot of times they'll take a trade-in oil, they'll send you the oil you need and the filter, and you can get it done. Quite often, a lot of times, just knowing who to go to, where to go, is a big part of being able to afford owning one of these luxury cars. When you scour under the hood, it's no surprise that there's lots of parts and pieces and a huge lot of potential for failure. You look at all of these hoses and clamps and you wonder if any one of those failed, it could literally mean the bank. Parts like this, you look at a hose like this and how much would this actually cost to replace? Well, the fact is the dealer's probably going to give you a number. It's going to be $195 for that part. But guess what? You can go to a lot of third-party shops and a lot of those independents like ECPP Euro and beyond that sometimes you'll find virtually the exact part. In many cases, it is the same part. It might have a different stamping on it, but it's the part that's spec'd for your vehicle. And instead of paying that $185 or $195 for that one hose, you can get it for $30, $40 yourself. And if you learn how to do some of that work yourself, you can save a ton of money. Okay, you're not a DIYer? Well, we have a solution there too, because going to the dealer, they're going to charge you $220, $230 an hour shop rate. But what I've learned over the years is, okay, I've learned how to fix some of my own problems, but I can't fix these. I'm like a lot of you. I look under the hood and I see parts here that are very difficult to access, very difficult to get into, and certainly parts that I don't know much about. There might even be calibration of some components. There might be some parts that you need to get an engine lift out, or you might to remove engine mounts to do, for example, that PCV that we just replaced here a few weeks ago. You might actually need to take half the engine apart, pull motor mounts, get the engine partially hoisted just to gain access. It might mean draining down oil and coolant, all for the sake of doing one little replacement part. That's a huge amount of cost if you had to do it yourself. What I've realized is learning how and where to find some of the problem areas. In this case, a PCV was actually under extended warranty, so you can save a ton of money learning more about your car. Go to NHTSA is one site with your VIN number, and you're able to pull up any relevant parts related to your vehicle. How do you find your VIN? Well, your VIN is located right under there at the base of the window, or in most cases, you can find your VIN right in here. And what I find is your VIN's usually located somewhere on there. On some cars, it's on the end of the door. But getting that VIN can open a whole new world and access of information for you. So you go start scouring NHTSA, finding some of those weak points, finding if there's any outstanding recalls, and making sure some of those things are done on the dealer's dime. If you're liking the video so far, you're gonna love the rest of the channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and don't forget the notifications bell so you know when the next amazing videos come. Another point I have to add is, recently we had a Ford. We took it into a local Ford dealership. It was making some clunking noises at the back end of the vehicle. And unfortunately, they couldn't really diagnose it. They heard it, they could repeat it, and they even wrote that in the invoice, but they didn't really know for sure. They said, we're gonna start with the shocks. We can't see anything obvious. A lot of service shops servicing a lot of your luxury car vehicles are quite often well factory trained. And from my own personal experience, either you fake it till you make it, or they just replace it. But what they're not gonna do is start swapping out parts on your dime. From my own personal experience, while their shop rates are high, they're not going to start just swapping out $2,000, $3,000 modules on your dime on a hunch just because they think it might be that issue. So in fact, you're dealing with generally, in most cases, a more competent level of mechanic or service tech than what you're getting in my own personal opinion, some of the lower entry-level vehicle brands, and you're going to get sort of what you pay for. So you've got to now ask yourself, is all of this gloriness here all worth potentially going bankrupt, because a lot of the non-luxury brands just simply don't have the ergonomics, they don't have the style, they don't necessarily have the technology that you're getting in a lot of these luxury car brands. There is a lot of technology, and when I compare this to a vehicle that didn't cost a whole lot less, our Toyota Camry, many argue that a lot of the mainstream brands like Toyotas and Hondas have a level of reliability that's sort of embedded, and they have a reputation of durability, whereas a lot of the luxury brands often get a bad bum rap. They say you're getting all of this technology and you're paying for all this technology, but in fact, you're not getting the quality wrapped in behind it. Well, there are some situations that is warranted to assume. That's not always the case. Let me explain. When I look at our Toyota Camry, I look, and wall to wall, you're basically dealing with miles of plastic. And you don't have all the extra texturing, you don't have a lot of the same technology. And granted, you do have some same features. Our Toyota Camry also does have a heated steering wheel, but there's little things. And you've got to ask yourself, is it worth having those upgrades? For me, it was, and for us, it has been. And I've always been driving luxury cars primarily because of the extras, the extra things that you get. For example, this steering wheel here is heated, but so is our Camry. But guess what? No two features are the same, because here when you activate the heated steering wheel, the entire steering wheel activates and you get a couple different levels of heating. But in the Camry, all it does is activate this section here and this section here. So in fact, you're not getting the whole area that's covered in heat. Rather, they're doing a simpler cost-cutting measure. Also, a lot of the plastics that you get in the regular everyday vehicles just simply don't look as nice. They don't feel as good. And on top of it, a lot of these luxury cars, there is a factor that makes them more desirable. I mean, I open the door, for example, look at this, and I'm sitting here very comfortably, open the door, ergonomically, everything falls into position. I pull this closed, it's very easy. Switches here, of course, for my power seats, locks, windows, everything is in a reach. Everything is very, very accessible. And everything is within this central pod area. And that's what the luxury car brands tend to do. They tend to cater more to, the driver, the driver-centric, if you will. They curve everything towards you. They make everything kind of a lot easier to use. And now what we're actually finding is a lot of the non-luxury brands, the quality is shifting. And the mechanics are going the same route. Then it leaves you questioning, why wouldn't you buy a luxury vehicle for almost the same money? I mean, you look at some of these Toyotas now, and a lot of these vehicles, Toyotas, Hondas, are running direct injection. Well, that's great for metering and performance and efficiency, but when you run direct fuel injection, what that's doing is putting fuel directly into the combustion chamber at a high pressure, but in essence, what that also does is create a lot of carbon in the intake. Just like this vehicle, you're going to have carbonization in the intake manifold, the backs of the intake valves, and that will be a problem. Once you start hitting 150,000 miles, you're gonna start to see problems with that. But guess what? A lot of the regular brands are going with that too. Every manufacturer, from Ford to GM to Dodge, as well as a lot of Hondas and Mazdas, are all starting to rock direct fuel injection, which creates the same issues. Now, for a while as well, you'd probably ask yourself, well, but Honda and Toyota, they create a simpler vehicle that's more reliable. But is that totally true? Well, the fact is, a lot of these luxury cars are a little more innovative than the mainstream. Part of that is smaller engines, but turbocharging, and a lot of people hated that. Going a Mercedes like this, the previous generation of the C300 was a V6. Now they've replaced that in the W205, like this generation. It now has a turbocharged 4-cylinder with direct fuel injection. Everything that we're all told is bad. But guess what? Hondas, Toyotas, they're all going to turbocharged engines. Every single manufacturer now is flirting with reliability. They're all doing turbos. Look at Toyota's now replaced their V8s with mostly turbo 4s and turbo 6s. They're swapping out some of their old tried and true. So now you have more of an even playing field. While brands like BMW struggled with turbocharging many years ago, back in 2007, when they introduced their new N54, which was actually powered by a straight 3-liter 6-cylinder engine and twin turbos, and they had lots of problems. Direct fuel system issues, injectors, turbo problems, wastegate issues, you name it. I could probably list a list that's about 5 pages long. This is all starting to change for the regular brands now too. So the question becomes, why wouldn't you buy a luxury car brand when all of the mainstream brands the Toyotas, the Hondas, the Subarus are all having these same problems that BMW flushed out many years ago. See, now companies like BMW and their B58, they finally got to a point where their engines are virtually as reliable as anything modern day in the Toyota camp. So that then begs the question, why would you not buy your modern day dream luxury car? We had a recent experience with our Toyota Camry that was less than palatable. As a matter of fact, the dealers more or less pencil whipped the exercise and didn't even complete the service as promised. We paid the money, they wrote it out line item by line item, but they did not actually complete the work. And that was verified by the fact they were doing a tire rotation, brake check, they put the brake wear, wrote the numbers down, but we found out later that the wheels never even came off and you couldn't even inspect the brakes to begin with. So it really begged the question, are they doing the work that they promised to do? So now we actually have to ask ourselves, we're not getting the right work done. We have the same technology in some of the non-luxury brands. Why would we not buy a luxury brand, and specifically your dream car? See, because ask yourself this question, what are the worst engine failures by mass? Well, right now we're hearing about General Motors and the L87 V8, non-luxury brand. Hyundais and Kias and the Theta 2 engines blowing up by the millions, non-luxury brand. How about Honda and some of their problems with their 3.5 liter V6, non-luxury brand? This is happening across the board. When's the last time you've heard of a Mercedes or a BMW failing in mass? That's a damn good question. I really haven't thought of a time when we're hearing in mass a number of catastrophic reliability failures or engine failures or big transmission failures. That's because a lot of these brands are using better parts. Now the parts are more expensive and you're paying a lot more in the shop, but ultimately a lot of these cars do come with better quality, better components, and while nothing's perfect and you will have failures and you will pay the piper and a lot of those issues will arise from time to time and you will pay dearly, you don't really hear too many luxury brands blowing up hundreds of thousands of engines. There's just not a lot of those scenarios out there. But instead, you're hearing Ford and their wet belts blowing apart, or major recalls on some of the Ford intake valves on the 2.7 and 3 liter engines. It really begs the question, what are these modern day car manufacturers doing? And again, why wouldn't you buy your dream car? So if you're looking at buying a brand new luxury car, people are often worried and concerned about going bankrupt. There's options. If you want to keep that car for beyond the 3 or 4 year time frame, you can get a certified pre-owned warranty. A lot of people don't drive their luxury cars every single day, and a lot of people generally keep the mileage to a reasonable amount. It's so glorious to drive around in something that looks this nice, this fresh, has a nice interior with all the latest technology, has better ergonomics than you're finding in most other non-luxury brands, and of course it generally goes better. Usually have better performance, they sound better, they just overall are a nicer package. So why, with all of the reliability issues in the non-luxury brands, are anybody buying those when you can buy these for almost the same money? This car here was about $50,000, but guess what? A fully loaded Camry, now hybrid, is just about $5,000 shy of this vehicle. Which car would you buy? Well, most people are going to say, well, naturally it's going to be a Toyota. For the sake of enjoying life, enjoying your driving experience every time you get behind the wheel, I'm starting to come to the realization, drive what makes you happy. Statistically, the average car buyer buying a new vehicle keeps their vehicles for 2.82 years. That's right. A lot of people keep them for 7 or 8 or 10 years, but the vast majority of people get tired of their cars 2.5, 3 years out. And by that time, they're ready to trade it in. Now, we also know negative equity is a factor, but we also notice that there's a lot of great incentive programs on leasing. So if you're one of those buyers that are thinking about, I just want to drive the car of my dreams and I don't want to risk reliability issues like the vast majority of the population, I personally like keeping my vehicles for 5, 8, 10 years, but a lot of people realistically think that they're going to keep it for 10 years and then 3 years out, they finally decide, no, it's time to trade it in. So leases are another great option to get into a vehicle and not have that worry about going broke, because you hold on to it, you run it through the course of its life, through the warranty period, and then by that time, if you love it and it's been treating you well, you have the option to buy it out and keep it outright if you choose to keep it for 10 years, or you have the option to walk away. So I've often asked myself, is it the glorious interiors on these luxury cars worth it? Are the larger wheels that make the car look more sporty? Are the great technology that just looks a lot sleeker than a lot of the mainstream? Or is it the simple fact that you're driving something not everybody else is driving? There's a billion Toyota RAV4s on the road, but there aren't a billion of these. And to just drive something that's a little fresher, a little more interesting, to me, is certainly worth the price of admission. And so that's why throughout my entire life, I've owned dozens of luxury cars and I've never looked back, and guess what? I've never been bankrupt. With all of that said, be sure to check out that video, some of the most reliable vehicles, and as well, some of the worst engines you'll ever find, the mega compilation. You're going to see that. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you then. Bye-bye.